Africa. And remember, the guy who shot Lucky Dube, if you go through the judgment, he said he thought Lucky Dube was a Nigerian. The guy who gunned down Lucky Dube, he said he thought he was a Nigerian. So you see the implication of, stereotyping people. So I think we should move away from that mentality.
Talking about stereotyping, there is in 2012 research was conducted by the South African government to look into these issues of xenophobic attacks, and the report is interesting. 21% of South Africans believe that no other African national should be allowed to come into South Africa and stay. If legally, illegally, it doesn't matter to them. 64% believe they should be allowed into South Africa, but with under stringent conditions. And the remaining percentage feel like we are all Africans and we could allow everyone to. So is that to say the South African doesn't like colleague Africans to be in the country and live together?
This thing is an indictment on the personality of the African as a whole. This is a land full of tension. This was a land of apartheid, a land where a minority white dominated the lives of people, and then were able to run an economy that was a very successful economy, to the point that they were even developing a nuclear weapon. And once the black takes over, it becomes a different story altogether. The economy has been going down. Black people in other countries find that what the carcass left by the white minority is something they should go and take advantage of, and everybody is fighting over that carcass, the leftover of the white people who manage an economy which was successful. This is a very serious indictment. This is a serious breach, of the fact that we have a belief that the personality of the black man is equal to any other personality. Is challenging that fact, because there's no other economy in this in Africa that is as efficient as the whites as what the whites left over, for the black South Africans. No other economy is as efficient. To date, the economy, though the second largest, is more efficient, is more of a service and tertiary economy than any other economy in Africa. We all are still primary in nature, meaning drawers of water and hewers of wood. Yeah. You go to cut cocoa and then just export the raw beans like that. You get to take oil and export the raw like that. You take your timber and that's very fundamental economy.
Rosewood,
very, very painful.
The emerging challenging
coming into the country and doing it. The South African economy has moved beyond that. I went to South Africa. I saw their forests. They crept the forests themselves. They plant the trees and they harvest the trees as timber. It's not like this. And yet, they are better off than us. So the challenge we have is that we need to understand the kind of dynamics that is happening here, the economic challenge Africans are facing, the problem South Africa itself is facing. The carcass is not big enough for them, and yet our people all over are trying to go and take their share. And that's where we have the problem. They have a policy of black empowerment. It's not going adequate enough. It's not adequate enough. You train them in business and allocate some resources to young people, and they go into business to work on their own. It doesn't look like it's working.
We have 2 minutes to wrap up. In just 1 minute, I want to know all these things that's happening. What sort of potential impact does it have on diplomatic ties?
Yes.
And how should the international community, the AU, the EU, and all regional blocs that we have, handle this issue so that it could be handled, it could be contained?
There are 2 issues about it. One is a domestic challenge of a South African government that is unable to deal with criminality. The second is the effect on other nationals, and a single national affected by what is happening has a total effect on the population of Nigeria, for example. And so Nigeria is not seeing it as an accident. They are seeing it as an attack on the personality, the integrity of the Nigeria, and it's causing a diplomatic rift. So South Africa and Nigeria at the moment are finding it difficult to patch up their relationship. Nigeria of late issued a statement of what they are going to do to hurt South Africa, but they are saying they are willing to sit at the table and talk. South Africans are talking about criminals who are hurting their own economy, which means they are diverting the attention from the international scene into a local scene. Because when they call them criminals, instead of xenophobic attacks, they are saying that, look, this is a criminal element. It's not because they hate other black people. And the effect on the total, on the AU is that our quest to unite ourselves, to trade amongst ourselves, the continental free trade, will also be hurt, because now it is closing the openings that would have allowed proper integration of people. And so that's where the problem is. And remember also, South Africa is the seat of the AU Parliament, the Pan-African Parliament. So with all these things happening, South Africa is losing out its role as a central rallying point for Africans.
Well, Mr. Bona, in 60 seconds, what should we do to address this whole problem?
I think what we need to do, Nigeria, Big Brother would have to calm down and handle this issue maturely, if you ask me. Because whatever the case is, if South African businesses get closed down in Nigeria, those who are largely going to be affected would be those who are employed by these businesses in South Africa. And so in this equation, it is still the young African who is suffering. The rulers, and those at the top, don't feel it as much as those at the bottom. And so I think that all in all, I'm expecting leadership. I'm not sure at the moment who is going to lead that mediation effort, so that somehow we can rally Africa together again. I mean, the Nkrumahs and the Mandelas, and probably we also have just lost Mugabe. May his soul rest in peace. I don't know who. Probably our president can do that. His Excellency, the President of Ghana, Nana Addo, could do that. We need somebody who would have to call, everyone together and say, no, we've got to stop this, and probably come together to find some amicable solution to the unemployment that we are grappled with in Africa. Or else, extremism, violent extremism, is not going to go away. What we are seeing around the continent, or within Africa, is not going to go away.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. It has been Moomen Tonight, and tonight on the program we've been discussing the xenophobic related violence in South Africa, its impact on the South African economy, the African economy, and how it could affect diplomatic ties on the continent. And my guests have been sharing their views and making recommendations as to how this problem can be addressed. My name is Abdul-Rahman. Do enjoy your evening.